Welcome to the Heart of Money podcast, where we discuss the personal and emotional elements of money and the impact that money has on every area of your life. I'm Austin Black, a personal finance coach that helps couples overcome their fear and frustration of financial management so they can take complete control of their money. What started as a desire to learn the fundamentals of money management has turned into a passion for helping couples work together to achieve financial success and strengthen their relationship with each other. Whether you're looking for the best strategies to manage your money as a couple, or you're tired of struggling to gain traction and want to overcome the fear and frustration associated with finances, I'm here to help, and this show is for you. Ready to learn more? Then let's talk about the Heart of Money. Welcome back to the Heart of Money, episode 110. I'm your host, Austin Black, joined by Mr. Bob Wessler, the one and only co-host that I can keep on the show. How are you today, sir?
That's right. The one you can keep on the show. And as I said before we started, there's a fly in our midst. And so as we record, we'll see what happens with that fly. And you told me to smack my head and not the microphone. I'll do my best to smike the microphone and not my head. So wait,
Maybe
it's the other way around.
It'll make you think better, though.
That's right. Recalculating. Right. So how are you?
Oh, so how is your October going so far?
You missed my question. Completely missed my question.
Yes, I totally heard you.
You totally heard me. You are a one-track mind. There's that fly. No, I'm kidding. It's been busy, and here we are on my day off recording because I have some time, and I am looking forward to this conversation with you today. How about you?
That was like almost scripted.
That was almost scripted. It wasn't scripted. It was just what was coming out of my head as I'm tracking the fly.
I believe the first part of that. The second part I'm questioning.
Oh, okay. I don't remember the second part, but anyway.
Smack the head.
Smack the head. It was how are you? I asked how you were. That was the scripted part.
I could say the same as you, except I'm not off work today. I am working, which is why we're doing this. Because unlike you, I don't get that option. But it's all good. It's all good. Had a fantastic anniversary getaway last weekend with my wife, so we kind of, had a little mental break away from the kids, away from life. And I told her on Friday, after being gone for 24 hours, I was already ready to go back to work. So, it doesn't take long for me to get tired of rest.
I'm sorry. I can't be down for more than a couple hours, and I don't necessarily want to get back to work, but I have to do something. So,
Yep.
Yeah.
But good times. It's a very busy season right now, and I am also excited for this conversation today, especially because this episode is going to kind of be a culmination of what we've been talking about ever since Season 3 launched a few months ago. We're going to kind of all put everything into a package so you can connect the dots and figure out why all of those components are that important. And we'll see if you and I stay on the same track, because we probably even have a little different perspectives around some of these elements.
I have no idea what you're talking about. No idea.
You usually don't.
Smack the head. There you go. You might have gotten a sound effect in that one.
I'll add one if there's not. How's that sound?
Ka-thunk.
Today we're going to talk about the steps for achieving success with your money. This sounds like a very simple concept, and it is. But Bob, there's a lot of people that have a hard time achieving success with their money. Why is it hard to do something simple? Can you explain that one to me?
That sounds like a loaded question, Austin.
It's an honest question.
It's an honest question. And we go through all of these saying that these are simple things, and really they are, but we get in our own way all the time. Mm-hmm. And it's, I might create a new word, behavior economics, because that just came out of nowhere. I hit my head too hard. Just the way we behave with money and ways we have learned to use money or cope with money, all revolving around behavior, positive or
Mm-hmm.
negative. Um, and that's what makes these things hard when you can look at it and say, well, I can do that, or that's easy enough. And you
Mm-hmm.
put it into practice and it's a different story because it's not that easy when you really start applying it.
I think you just precursored an upcoming episode that I need to include when you said cope with money.
Mm.
That's
You're
a
welcome.
that's a topic that can really drive home some sincerity. I think
Can you throw behavior economics in there somewhere
we
too?
can probably put that in the title.
Okay. I got to figure out
Bob's
how to spell it.
episode.
Yeah.
No, I think you're exactly right in that it is easy concept, but we get in our own way. And a lot of what we're going to talk about today is how to get out of the way, how to allow that success to happen. Because as we have kind of alluded to, and we've even stated it in the past however many episodes, success is a result of our decision, our behavior. We are the only ones who can prevent it, and we're also the only ones who can create it. And that combination puts it where if we can get out of our own way, we can achieve, I'm not going to say unlimited success, but we can achieve greater success, abundantly more success than if we stay stuck in our rut and with our old habits and our old beliefs. And that's really kind of where I think we're going to start today. We've talked about limiting beliefs. We talked about the questions that you need to answer. All these things that are honestly surface level. But why have we spent so much time talking about them? Well, it's because you have to understand that concept before you can figure out how to apply that concept. You got to know what those questions are and how limiting beliefs affect you, and that all then takes you to a deeper level. And one of those is where you are, who you are, and what you're trying to do. Um, I think a lot of people they blame external factors on their success, or they say, well, because of those external factors, he or she was successful. There's never just a true admittance and acknowledgement of that person and their ability. And so a lot of times, I hear people say, well, my environment or my conditions or my background. Is that true, Bob? Do you think that's a fact?
Well, I'm thinking these are all the people that believe in overnight successes.
Mm-hmm.
And if you ask them if they believe in overnight successes and they really think about it, if their answer is no, then the same applies in this situation that those external factors could have some play, but really it's what the individual is doing or not doing that is a greater determinant of their success or
Mm-hmm.
lack thereof when it comes to their objectives.
Absolutely. And the phrase I'm going to throw out here is you aren't limited to your environment, you're limited to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You are the one that is creating or that is avoiding the change. And that I think we can even land on that sentiment for a little bit because how many times, Bob, do we stop ourselves from achieving the success that we have the capability of creating? How often do we stop ourselves without even knowing it?
I would tell you that I'm good at stopping myself because I limit my thinking in certain ways, or
Mm-hmm.
and maybe I'm just super critical of myself. I'm looking at what we had that taking a step outside of a box. That if we stay in our environment, what our beliefs are, what we think, what we know, what our plan is limited to what's inside that box.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in some cases we get to a point where, like, if things aren't working, and again, this would be a cue up to a financial coach stepping in, is thinking outside of the box, getting a different perspective on things, going, so this hasn't worked. Have you tried this? Or let's look at this in a different way. It's
Mm-hmm.
taking that step outside of the box because, the definition of crazy is doing the same thing over and over again. And expecting different results. And that's why you have to get outside of that box. Otherwise, you will go crazy.
And I think that box not only has a different size for each person,
Hmm.
it also grows over time.
I would agree.
And there's some people where their box is as big as their head, and that's it. That's as far as it goes. I cannot think past myself. And other people, their box is very large and encompasses more, hypothetical space. But
Hmm.
at the same time, they are capable of greater things outside of that box, given the right resources, the right people around them, the right mentality, other elements that can elevate them to a higher level. And I think if you and I could probably think of people off the top of our heads that fall into both of those categories, where some people, they are so stuck in, they aren't stuck, they are so confined to the box around their head that for them, even the concept of being able to make a different decision than what they've made in the past seems impossible.
Yeah. And
And then you've got the other level where, okay, we have done things differently. We have seen success, but we're still not where we would like to be. So, what else is it going to take to continue to push that envelope? Because we're driven for progress, we're driven for success, but we aren't satisfied yet with where we're at. Like you
yeah.
kind of have two different parts of the spectrum there.
And I think another aspect of that, talking about different sizes of a box, if you've got somebody that's starting out with the box the size of an ostrich eye, it will get much bigger over time
Mm-hmm.
with and I don't know that growth mentality is the right way, but continuing to step outside of that box will increase the size of the box.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody that enlarges the box over time, multiple times over and over again, there are many different options because the box is getting bigger, but they might still get to a point where they have to think again further outside, take a different perspective, and yet again you have a box that grows again. So I think you have a person that can start small, can't get out of their own head,
Mm-hmm.
but with input from others and a willingness to listen, they're going to be able to broaden their scope, broaden their ability to think and think differently and increase the size of that box.
Yeah. And I think the ultimate point here, you said stepping outside of that box. The box doesn't grow on its own.
No.
It's not going to expand just because you think it should expand, because you want it to expand. It's only going to expand whenever you push those walls and those boundaries and you grow the box, which doesn't, again, go back to your environment, doesn't go back to um, your resources, doesn't really go back to anything except what you are willing to do. And I've got the comment or notes there that it does take radical accountability to achieve that. It's up to you to push those limits. But whenever you do, Bob, you begin every time that you push those walls and you push that box bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, there's so much more room and more space for more opportunities and more change and more success, because we're not limited to our head. For those who are on YouTube, you can see my box around my head. Um, you're now opened up to this whole universe in some essence. How big is your box that you are living inside of? Is it big enough for success to happen, or is it just big enough for you?
Yeah, and I think your comment to radical accountability requires somebody other than yourself that you're
Mm-hmm.
accountable to. And again, I'm taking all your lines for a financial coach. And my way of seeing that for accountability from a coaching standpoint is it's not somebody that you're going to say, oh, I passed or I failed.
Mm-hmm.
It's the idea of trial and an error. It's not what did you do, but how did you do.
Yes.
Very different concept, because as somebody who is performance driven and your thought process is win, 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 and I failed, that can be a major setback. But if you're going to somebody for accountability and the question is, how did I do rather than what, the how is, well, I tried this and it really didn't work. Okay, let's reframe it. What can you do differently to achieve that objective versus a pass fail thought process? And I
Exactly.
think that's really what accountability, and we've talked about this before. I think that really is what accountability comes down to, is not a rap on the knuckles, or a pop upside the head. I still haven't seen that fly, by the way. It obviously doesn't like what I'm talking about. But just to have the concept of, rather than punishment, a change in perspective and change in possibilities and
Yeah.
encouragement.
Very well said. There's something about leaning into the journey versus just looking at the end
Mm-hmm.
point. And so many people have talked about this. It's not anything secret, it's not anything new. But when it comes to finances, it can be really, really, really easy to say, well, we just aren't accomplishing our financial goals. Okay, well, number one, how big were your goals set whenever you made them? Were they goals that you wanted to achieve that was going to take you 10 years to achieve, or could you do it in 12 months? But the second thing is, what changed in you to where you even wanted to accomplish that goal? What got you started? Because if you have changed your own perspective around, well, we haven't achieved that goal, but you're still working towards it, that is the journey and the process that you're going to grow in and strengthen yourself in. And by the time you get to where you thought your first goal was, now you've got that down pat, you're ready for the next goal.
Yep.
So if you only stay focused upon the end result, are you ever going to be satisfied? Probably not, because it's going to take long enough to get there that you're going to have to evolve and adapt and daily make those adaptations and adjustments to your behavior economics. That's not the exact phrase you used. I got it wrong. What was it
It's
again?
called behavioral economics.
Behavioral
It's like
economics. Okay.
socioeconomics,
So
but
she got behavior.
behavioro. It's not a
I sound like
word.
a Latin
It's,
person whenever I say that.
yeah, I don't know. Pig Latin.
But the point being, what do you do on a daily basis that gets you from point A to point B, or to point Z, or anywhere in between? What is that process like? I think that's probably honestly a perfect cue up also to, what are these steps to achieving success? We're kind of dancing around it right now, but really the first one is you got to set that goal.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know where you're going to head, if you don't know what that definition of success is for you, you have no way of knowing if you're achieving it or not, do you, Bob?
Right. It's the Cheshire Cat. Alice in Wonderland. Which way are you going? Well, I don't know. Well, it really doesn't matter what road you take, does it?
Just keep walking in circles, chasing your tail.
That's right.
So how important is it really to set a goal? Because we all have these dreams and these ideas and these aspirations, and by golly, we're motivated to do that. So why is setting a goal so important, you think?
Well, you've got to start somewhere. And this goes back to your previous comment of going from point A to B, C, D, Z, whatever. That you've got to get started. You've got to take the first step. You've got to get an idea of what you want. You've got to know the direction you want to head. And then you start with a goal. Is it a perfect goal? Doesn't matter. It just needs to be something that you can make forward progress towards, that you can then measure, am I heading in the right direction? Am I making progress? Am I going about doing this the right way? Or was that even the goal I really should have set?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are all these things that go into it, but you have to get forward progress and start something in motion in order to achieve a goal, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So having that idea in mind and what your first step is towards it helps you develop what your goal really needs to be.
Yeah. And to build upon that, I think it's imperative that you have both short-term goals and long-term goals. You've got that ultimate end-all um, result that you want to achieve. Is that becoming debt-free? Is that having a healthy retirement? Is that having whatever your definition of financial freedom or financial success is? Is that being able to have your spouse leave their job? Is that being able to start your own business? What is that long-term goal that it's going to take a while to get there? It's probably going to take years, maybe even decades to get there. But that's where you want to end up, at least right now. But then if that is your only goal, you're going to get so burned out in chasing that goal for years and years and years. You've got to have those short-term kind of milestone goals that you can work on day in and day out that lead up to and build up to those long-term goals. So if you're focused on getting out of debt, is your goal, I want to be out of debt in 3 to 5 years. Okay, well, this year, what should be the goal to accomplish that? How much do we need to pay off this year, and what steps do we need to take on a quarterly, on a monthly, on a weekly basis to accomplish that short-term goal of paying off 25% of our debt so we can be debt-free in 4 years? What does that look like? So I think it's so important that you do have that very short-term incentive and motivation that is built into your long-term plan that you actually want to ultimately accomplish.
Yeah, and I think with the long-term goals, it's not just having them and the idea of it being so long-term that it's just going to work out over time.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have milestones
Mm-hmm.
along the way, whether that's on a quarterly basis, a biannual basis, that you're looking at that and saying, okay, how am I progressing to that long-term goal? So you want to keep in mind your short-term goals, if that's something that can be done before the end of the day, before the end of the week, by the end of the month. And I would say that anything longer than a month could be a long-term goal within a year.
Mm-hmm.
To me, is a long-term goal, because you're going to have 12 periods to that year time period that you can check in saying, how am I doing at these 12 points in time
Yeah.
towards that goal? 5 years. Well, I'm going to look at it every 6 months. So you've got, what is that? 5 times 2 is 10 times in the year, or 10 times over the course of 5 years that you're looking at that. And maybe by the time you get to the fourth one, which is 2 years in, saying, we need to pivot a little bit on this. We need to look at this differently. We need to set aside more money. We need to see we can set aside less money. That's usually not the case, but we need to change something in our approach to make sure we get to that goal.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that one thing is being able to take money away. You're actually going to hit that goal sooner than 5 years. And we say, oh, we can do this in 4.5 years. And maybe you can do it in 3.5 years, depending on how you're tracking after 2 years in.
And I think the biggest challenge that people face when they're setting all of this up, because it's really easy to, set, I'm going to say a 5-year goal. And my backup, and in 2 years I want to accomplish this. In 1 year I want to accomplish this. A month from now I want to accomplish this. But at what point do you realistically have a milestone that you can accomplish? Because I know for myself, it's really easy to set goals.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as easy to achieve them, because a lot of times you want to accomplish more in a short amount of time than you're actually able to do. And I feel like in financial setting, or in setting financial goals, we want it all at once. Who doesn't want to achieve all of it at once, or at least in a short amount of time? And the reality is that is rarely possible. But the fastest way to set yourself up for failure and disappointment is to overestimate how quick you can accomplish something. So like you were saying, as you get going along, you're probably going to say, okay, hey, we are actually accomplishing this faster than we had originally planned, or this goal is becoming more achievable and more attainable. Maybe we are, trying to pay off debt. Maybe we're reducing our expenses as time goes on, while we're also increasing our income because we're getting more fired up about our success in this goal. And when it's all said and done, we are going to get paid off in 6 to 12 months sooner than we have planned on. That is a different scenario than saying, well, I really want to get this paid off in 2 years.
Hmm.
And guess what? You get to 18 months and you still got a year and a half to go. You're only halfway there. Well, then instead of being motivated, you start getting frustrated at, why is this taking so long? Why is this so hard? And you, going back to, again, our previous statement, you begin feeling less inspired and less motivated to keep pushing hard because you're not seeing the results that you set for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm going to go out and say, I don't like 5 year goals. I don't like the interview question, where do you see yourself in 5 years? 5 years is a long time away.
Yes, it is.
I might not remember what I did yesterday, but 5 years from now, how am I going to know what I'm going to do 6 months from now in some
Hmm.
cases? I think the best way to plan for something many years out is to actually have a plan. You're not going to set a goal and say, well, I'll do this in 5 years.
Hmm.
It's what do I want to achieve?
Hmm.
And then putting steps in place to say, okay, in order to achieve this, I need to do this, 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 and this. Well, how long is it going to take to do those four things? Oh, that's going to take 4.5 years? Okay. So if you put that on a 5 year time horizon, you've already got stuff in place to say, I'm going to do this within the next 5 years.
Hmm.
It's not throwing out oh, I'll get it done in 5 years and just putting 5 years out there as a number. You actually have numbers, you have steps put in place that will tell you this can be accomplished within 5 years.
Yeah.
So then you still could get frustrated 18 months in, but you should still be tracking along that 5 year plan. The thing would be that if you're not hitting the second or third step in 18 months and you have forecasted that you'd be in step three, you'd be in step two within 18
Hmm.
months, and you're still on step one, then you need to revisit. And yeah, you're probably going to be frustrated because something's not working right, which is
Yeah.
why you need to look at it again and reframe.
Exactly. And I love Tony Robbins' quote, and I'm sure you've probably heard this, talked about it in the past. Um, people overestimate how much they can accomplish in a year's time, and they underestimate how much they can accomplish in the course of a decade.
Hmm.
Guilty.
Yeah.
Been there every single year. Um, but you're exactly right. And I really like that viewpoint of a 5 year goal, right? I mean, my wife and I, we've created a 5 year vision for our family, and we updated that. We did the first one 4 years ago. So in 2026 will be our 5th year of that first 5 year vision plan. And then we back up and we basically, whenever we first made it, we created, I think it was a 3 year goal and a 1 year goal. So we kind of had those benchmarks of, okay, here's what we want to accomplish in that amount of time in order to make that 5 year vision take place. And then obviously every year we reevaluate that, make adjustments, see if we're still on track. Some things have changed. Some things are right on track. Some things we have accomplished early. Um, but I like how you said that, you don't know where you're going to be in 5 years. I don't think anyone knows where they're going to be in 5 years, what they're going to be doing. So, yes, a 5 year goal, probably not a smart idea, but you've got to know where you want to be headed in 5 years, and what is something that you want to accomplish and achieve and attain. Um, I think if you have that picture, and we keep saying 5 years, it could be 3, it could be 1, it could be 20 from now. The concept of know where you want to end up farther than the immediate moment.
Hmm.
Create that long term plan, long term vision for yourself. But going back to Tony's quote, and we've talked about the concept of this all along here. So many people, they get so excited about paying down debt, about building their savings, about even just doing the simple things of money management. And they get into it and they realize, oh gosh, this is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. This takes a lot more work than I was prepared for. Um, Things keep happening. I'm having a hard time staying motivated, having a hard time staying aggressive on this. Maybe you do need to be aggressive. Maybe you don't need to be aggressive depending upon what that vision and that plan is. But then you work on that for 5 or 10 years and you look back and you see, okay, how much did I actually accomplish? And you'll have your mind blown if you stay consistent in your progress towards those every single year. So my quote that I always say is we give ourselves way too much grace and not enough credit for what we can accomplish in a year's time. We can do a lot more than we believe, but then we also expect a lot more to happen than what can take place. And there's a fine line there in balancing what you are capable of achieving versus what is possible to achieve. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think something that really stood out to me in what you said there, from the standpoint of looking at it years down the road, and the comment, things keep happening. I can't tell you how many times things keep happening to people and is such a major setback. But the thing is, and let's go back to the thinking outside of the box. Their box has gotten bigger since the last time something happened. And they keep trudging through it, and something else happens. But at the point that something happens, their situation has changed enough that they can do better. They have better options. They can think more clearly. They might have the financial wherewithal when the most recent thing that keeps happening pops up than they were 6 months, 18 months ago. And I think those are small wins that we don't give ourselves credit for because it's another setback. It's another, oh, I can't keep doing this. Well, believe it or not, you're doing it. And because you've been doing it, you can get through this one.
Yeah.
And you know, I've held my tongue on this one, but my favorite Anthony Robbins quote is still "fire hot." So I'm gonna go with that one right there, with the walking on coals. Fire hot. For those that don't know who Anthony Robbins is, maybe they're like, "Oh, now I know who you're talking about."
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Walking on coals. Well, I think, and you know, we keep talking about this from kind of the negative side of, you know, regulating our expectations based around what we can actually accomplish. But you flip that around to, okay, is your goal big enough? Are you trying to achieve it fast enough? Are you actually putting forth the effort and the energy into something that you could accomplish in 1 or 2 years' time instead of you're letting it go 3, 4, 5 years just because you don't really want to bear down and make it happen, or you don't believe in your ability and your capability to achieve that because you've never done that before.
Yeah.
Going back to limiting beliefs here, folks. Don't stop yourself short on that. I've had several couples come to me in discovery calls before we start coaching and just kind of talking through their scenario. And because they haven't put in the right behaviors and the right parameters and done a budget and done all the things that we talk about that's easy to do but hard to implement, because they haven't done that, their belief is, well, gosh, it's going to take me, 4 or 5 years to get all this debt paid off. Well, they make a great income. Their debt, well, it may be large, isn't more than their income, so they're not like in over their heads. And when we start analyzing how much you can actually pay towards your debt in a month's time, well, they've never done that before, for one thing. It's always a guess and a hope and a dream. You actually put those numbers down and you say, well, hey, it's not going to take us 5 years. It's going to take us mathematically 3 years. But then what'd you say earlier, Bob, about behavioral
Behavior,
economics?
yeah. You see, you got it. Behavioral economics.
When you study behavioral economics, trademark Bob Bessler,
Yeah.
you're going to discover that all of a sudden a 3-year long math problem becomes a 2-year long goal. And if you really work on yourself, you might even knock it off in 18 or 20 or 22 months if you really focus upon your behavior and focus upon your decision making and focus upon your management. And that's the positive side of things. And what do we want to accomplish? Now, how fast can that actually happen?
Yeah. And how fast do you want to make it happen is really
Mm-hmm.
what the question becomes. And as we say it over and over again, behavioral economics should be behavioral economics, but we're turning the AL into an O for no apparent reason, other than that was the first way that it came to mind. Is you have to put the brakes on the debt first. Somebody that's never gotten out of debt has spent all their time creating more debt versus decreasing the
Mm-hmm.
amount of debt they have. So you're going to have to pump the brakes and start to reverse the cycle. And that might take a while. And
Mm-hmm.
that is behavioral.
Yeah.
Or, if you want to put some flair in it, it's behavioro. I don't know. Cheerios,
Just don't go
behavioros.
Spanish on me.
See. Um, Ole! I don't know. But the whole idea is that you're trying to reverse the cycle that you're in,
Mm-hmm.
and then it goes back to the Henry Ford quote of whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
It's starting the process, putting a goal in place, aiming for it, see how close you are to hitting it,
Mm-hmm.
or tracking where you are to achieving it. And then, like you said, 18, 20, 22 months is something that started out as a 3 year that became a 2 year that even got knocked down another couple of months because you were serious about it and you really started trimming those things that you didn't need,
Mm-hmm.
or just said, you know what, I'm not going to continue spending like this, and instead of spending, I'm applying it to the debt I already had.
Yeah. Well, we kind of we jump ahead a little bit, but it's all good flow. And the one thing that um, we've talked about it, but I want to point it out in your goal setting. I think we've all heard of the BHAG, the big, hairy, audacious goal. The one thing that you don't know if it's actually possible. You have a slight sliver of doubt in your mind that you can accomplish it, but by golly, you really want it. And when I say really want, I don't mean you want it. Like you have this burning desire in your soul that I yearn for this to happen. This will elevate my life and make me feel like I have achieved something if I can accomplish this. And we should have multiples of those in our life as we grow older and experience things and accomplish some of those. That BHAG should continue to get bigger. But again, we don't want to put it out there so far that it is impossible to attain. So what I want to encourage folks as we are talking about this goal setting process is to find that balance between setting a goal that's too small to excite you and setting a big, hairy, audacious goal that can't be accomplished. We got to find that happy medium where it's going to challenge you. Not many people are going to be able to accomplish it. It's going to take work and energy and effort and maybe even finances to get there. If this is a non-financial goal, obviously that's going to be the case. But also, is this something that if you could accomplish it, would make you just light up inside because you didn't know if you were going to get there, but this is what you've been dreaming of. You got to find that medium spot between those two.
Mm-hmm. And as you cue it off to me, there's nothing that I can add to that. That you pretty much nailed that. So we
So,
can leave
Bob,
it at
what is
that.
your BHAG?
You know, I had one a couple of years ago that was just, it wasn't insurmountable. It was bigger than I thought it would be. Um, that it was a certification. And a lot of mine are professionally related. When I get into something saying, you know what, I'm going to step further in, I'm going to be the best at what I do
Mm-hmm.
to do what I do. Um, that really was my last one, and that was the one where let's see, there were three exams. I did not pass the first one, and that was to me harder than the financial goals. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sorry, the financial Series 7 and 66 mutual fund, uh, stocks, bonds, etc. Those types of securities certifications. I had gotten those previously um, when I was in banking, and those supposedly were incredibly hard. Well, the certification as an auditor was much more difficult. And going back, and that was one of those that I had to change my, not change my goals, but change my tactics to reach my goals.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it was prior to getting married, I passed the second test, 6 to 9 months prior to getting married. Then I bought a house a month prior to getting married, and a week before getting married, I passed the third test. So I like to lump all those things together pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And that's been the most recent audacious goal.
Mm-hmm.
Um, since then, there has not been anything really from a professional standpoint uh, that has really stood out to me. There have been some options, um, but then financial resources within my working uh, realm have
Mm-hmm.
limited those to where they have not been a target as much as have been some of the projects that I've worked on.
Yeah,
So
that makes sense.
right now, I'm just tackling a lot of things, being able to help in different areas. Are those necessarily goals? No, those are areas that I can contribute to help other people towards their goals, I guess.
Yeah, love it. That's awesome. You're inspiring.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. Yes. I actually had somebody the other day that wrote down on one of their questionnaire sheets if they had anybody that they could go to for
Mm-hmm.
financial advice. They put me down, and I was just honored by that because we talked about it previously that I help with guys that have been previously incarcerated,
Mm-hmm.
and these are guys that have some wherewithal with finances. Most of them don't have a clue, and we go through the budget process, and it's from some aspects it's fun. On the other aspect, just getting them to track their receipts and then realize where they spend all their money is just
Mm-hmm.
mind blowing for them.
Yeah.
And then realizing that they can change their course on where they're blowing money to actually setting money aside, it's amazing. It's life changing for those guys.
Yeah, I bet. Just the small things that all add up.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Well, man, we covered a lot here. I know there's even more to talk about, and we'll hit that in our next episode. But what's one thing that you want to leave listeners with about goal setting and what's our own ability, how that relates to achieving success?
Get started. Do something. Get on the process. If you've been thinking about something, put it down on paper or talk to somebody about it. Somehow get some forward progress on that goal. Because
Mm-hmm.
as long as it's stuck in your head or just not fundamentally important to you, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, yeah. The one thing I would say is, even if you don't think it's possible, who's going to stop you from trying to achieve it?
Ooh, I know, I know.
Who's the only person that's going to stop you from trying to achieve the impossible?
Go look in the mirror, get two thumbs. That guy. That's right.
So, yeah, start, decide, commit, take action. We're going to tell you exactly how to do all that in the next episode, but that's where this all begins. Is if you believe in the dream, then don't let anyone tell you you can't accomplish it.
That's right.
All right, folks, we'll bring more to you next time on The Heart of Money.